the time has come to begin the fun process of decaling and getting this airplane looking like the real thing. So start with, actually of all things, Fightertown Decals data sheet number 82. This was for Hasegawa before the Tamiya kit even came out. And we look down here, we've got formation lights down here of different colors, and I've cut out one. These early Tomcats, like we talked about earlier, did not have any formation lights up at the top of these tails here. These things were solid. Those actual set of formation lights were back here on the fuselage, and they were in front of the set that was there. So what I've done is picked one of these up. It's just going to go right here. So color should be just different enough for a little bit of contrast. And what I'm seeing on most of these jets is the yellower one is up front, which we talked about earlier. So we're going to go ahead and do our first decal here. I'm using Mark Fit Strong. Works great with cartograph printed decals. And we're just going to put a little drop on there, just like that. And boom. It's on. I'm not a real big fan of when we used black for these panel lines. However, I did want it to match Tamiya, which has the panel line engraved. So that looks good. We'll use a panel liner on Tamiya a little bit later. Just a slight touch. There we go. It looks good. Let's grab a Q-tip. Just roll it out. There we go. That's the first decal of the airplane. And maybe magically when I come back on the next round, it'll be all decaled. I'll show you some of the decaling along the way. Some of the special stuff the VX-4 had. That's it. See ya. All right, I'm going to do a little hand holding here. We're going to start with the bottom of the wing and the national insignia and give you a little bit of inside baseball story to go with that. You can see here the bottom of the wing, the star is not aligned to the leading edge. It's not aligned to the trailing edge. It's aligned to the cord, the line, imaginary line from the wingtip to the center of the wing. Just kind of practicing my alignment while it's dry where I want it to be. I'm not even going to mark anything. I'm just kind of get a handle. One of the things you can do to look at is the lineup, the split in the leading edge slat here, and the flap in the back to see where it goes. So it's basically right there. One of the things I notice on a lot of kits is people take this national insignia and they move it way out here. And what they're doing usually is, if you look at the wing up here, they're placing it in the middle of the space between where the wing is swept back and the tip of the wing, which would bring the placement down here. You got to look at this line from the slat and the alignment there. So that basically is going to go there. You're also measuring from the wingtip out here to the center of wing here. That's the line I'm talking about. I'm using the national insignia from Fightertown Decals 4891 Rig Red Fighter Squadron. These are the larger ones, and they correspond to the size in close to the Tamiya kit. I think the Tamiya kit is just ever so slightly oversized. So we did these specifically like this. Okay, scratch everything I just said, because Navair Test All-Stars 4894 that we're using, boom, decals. They're on here. So those are the same ones, same size. Boom, they look the same. The color blue is slightly printed differently. That's just a variation in cartographs printing. All right, using my Mark Fit Strong. What I'd like to do with the star and bar is do a top, a bottom, a middle, and 2 wings for the stars. That also gives me a really good spot. It's hard to pick up on there we go, on the video, but a really good spot for where to place the decal when I'm ready to move it. I try not to move it around once it comes off the paper, and let's see, get my finger a little wet, find my placement. Let's come a little bit there. Boom. There we go. I'm just using a paper towel right now. And I'm going to roll that all on to get the water off. There we go. Let's take our Q-tip. Smooth it out. Get rid of any air bubbles that are in there. All the water is out. Oh, you know what? The alignment is a little bit too high up here. So we're going to come in with our Mark Fit Strong again. See if we can't adjust it. Well, this one's going to be on. So I'm just going to go ahead and put it on. It's not going to work for me. I don't like the way the alignment is. So we're going to scrape the whole thing off and start again with a new decal, because this one is already glued on there tight enough. So I'll come back, we'll get it right. What I want to show you is that alignment that I was talking about. So when you look down the chord of the wing, basically straight down this line here, boom, that's aligned there. We got it in the right spot in relation to the slat and the back here, and that's the way it's supposed to look. Give you a quick look over here. This is one of the only top views I have of these aircraft, but those all set up and line up correctly. So now, just to set the decal, even though I've wiped all the water out, I've kind of pressured it down. I'm just going to go ahead and put some Mark Fit on top of it, and we're going to let that sit for a little while and work its way in. That should kind of do a final glue. It will leave a little bit of residue on top. We're going to come back with just a little bit of a warm sponge, warm water, and wipe that off. So that, folks, is how the national insignia on the Tomcat top wing for the large one looks. The other thing I noticed, and we showed this on the instructions right here, there are no steps on the flaps, on the leading edges here, up here, down here. There are no steps. There's nothing on the top of these airplanes, actually. So as barren as that wing looks, that is correct. There's also no flap numbers, as you can see in this photo here. All right, we're going to do one of the fun ones. I've got a vertical tailpiece that's going to go up here on the rudder, and you can see on the instructions, it's not quite as clear, but the lineup, the red bar does not come to the top, you would think, to the top of the metal. And in our picture over here, there is our good look at 32. In fact, the actual jet I'm doing, how you can see how the red, it's lined up just below the metal. If I line it up to the metal, there will be an overhang back here on the back. So I have to make sure I slide it down just slightly. The piece is designed to perfectly fit on the tail. That's the idea. I had bought the Gunzi system. What I found was that their stuff was so hot on some of the cartograph decals that it actually melted some things if you left it on there. So I've gone back to just the Mark Fit and Mark Fit Strong. All right, decal is ready to go. Go ahead, grab this. Get it into place here. All right, so now there it is. It's definitely too low where I put it. And that is a just about perfect fit. Slide it back like ever so slightly. And there we go. We're going to that's how it goes. Just below the metal. You know what? Slid up on me a little bit too much. There we go. Just like that, below the metal. All right, I'm going to come back in here and show you a little bit. This is one of those sharp toothpicks. Let's see if we can get on the line there. I'm just taking that and working it on the rudder lines. And you can see it works its way in beautifully. That way we get instant definition on the panel lines. And I'm going to come back with the Mark Fit Now that's placed where I want it to be. I'm just going to put this over the top and kind of let it soak on. Now, one thing I'm being very careful not to do is get the mark fit on the metal areas. It might be fine, it might not. I'm just not going to risk it. So we're keeping it just on the decal. And I'm just going to slide that there. And there we go. The back, what it should do is it should just curve over ever so slightly on the back end. Today's video is going to be just kind of a tip and a short one. We're going with this canopy here. So what I've done to start, we're going to make this, give this the clear blue-green color that the windscreens have through the thick glass. And what I've done is I have started with going with the inside, and I've just used Tamiya tape, kind of cut in a curve here. Don't worry about putting it right up to the panel line. In fact, if you do it right up to the frame line, what ends up happening is when you flip it over and you look at it, because this piece is thick, or because it has some thickness to it, you will see clear under the panel. So when you look at it at an angle, you'll actually get clear or masked about halfway back to panels. Normally what I've been using in the past is either about a 70-30 mix of clear, 50-50, somewhere in there, of Tamiya clear blue and green. I started using something I like better because it's already mixed, and that is Alclad armored glass. That kind of has a bit of a, it's green, but it's got a little bit of a blue tint. It's actually really what I like. However, I did get something new in the mail, and that is Aqua from SMS. It looks bluer, so I thought I'd give that a try. It might actually be, now that I'm looking at it, here's in the tube here, it actually is pretty much clear blue. All right, after a brief intermission, we're back. What I found is if you have the little hairs in the back of your neck start standing up because something's not right, go ahead and listen to them before you start spraying. And you can see here I started to spray just as a quick test on the edge here, and it's kind of a murky dark blue gray. And I looked in the airbrush, like I didn't clean it fully the last time I painted, and what I ended up is I tested was this was what was coming out of it, which is clear blue, but with a lot of dark gray, blackish color. When I went to clean the airbrush, the tip had some black in it. So there was some color there. After I cleaned it out, boom, that is what the test of SMS Clear Aqua looks like. Totally different color. So thank God I went ahead and listened to those little voice inside my head, cleaned out the airbrush before we started painting, and now we can get back to painting the inside. I've already decided that Clear Aqua, I love the color, but man, it's too blue for what I want. But we're going to do it anyways, because all I want to do is kind of tint the glass. It's kind of hard to see that. When we look through it, it is tinted. Unfortunately, well, shoot. It looks like it's more frosted than tinted with the clear. So we're going to think about this one. I may have to put, oh, it's totally frosted though. Well, we may go back to Tamiya's clear blue and green as an option. I've had good luck with Alclad armored glass. I'm going to see about just putting a clear coat, maybe some acrylic clear on the back of this in the future or something like that, see what happens. Otherwise, I may be ordering a new piece from Tamiya. So in the meantime, that was, wow, that was supposed to be like a cool tip of the day little thing, and I think I just made more work for myself. So we'll come back with something else. Oh, you know what? While we're here, give you a look. This morning I sat down and took a sharp razor blade and cut out the boarding ladder and the step from the national insignia. So those things are ready. I also did a little more decaling. So that was fun, and we're getting closer. I'm going to do some marathon decaling hopefully today and tomorrow and see what happens. See ya. All right, we're going to get started here with the tail here. We've got that ready to go. Let's throw down some mark fit. Nice thing about having these solid close-up references, what I made the decals from, but I know exactly where to place the decal. Above halfway between the stripe and the bottom. And I have this little white cutout that goes right on the rudder. There is where I'm going to want it. Gotta smooth it out. And it's going to go right there. All right. Have a little fun with tiny decals. Just for fun, here is one of the pieces already done. And I've got little data points here, like on the real thing. And I can insert it, but why not just grab the photo here of the real thing? You can see 1, 2, 3, 4 of these on each of the tails at the base. So we are using decal number 38 from the Fightertown decal sheet, which is this right here. My decal set here, dip that in the water, boom, boom, boom. Bring that back in. We're just going to dab off the water. And I'm going to place it right here and let it sit for 1 second. While it's doing that, I'm going to put a little mark fit strong on 3 of the points I want to do. And I'm going to use just a good amount there. And I'm going to come in with my fine tweezers. And I'm not going to worry about the perfect placement to begin with. I'm literally just going to get it down on there. You see that slid out of where I wanted it to go, but that's okay. I just want to let the mark fit start to work. And that's when I get the decals themselves on. Now, once those are on, here we go. I've got to wear my strong glasses so I can see a little bit better. I'm just going to position these into the best place I can for what I want. Most important thing, for me at least, is getting them straight. Now, there's a lot of mark fit strong there, so it's a little hard. They just want to float. Just kind of bear some patience with me here. I'm going to take a corner of my paper towel tissue and just soak up a tiny little bit of the mark fit. There we go. Now I'm going to come back in here and do my final placement. I'm actually going to use a normal Q-tip and roll off the rest. Oh, shoot, that moved. This happens all the time. All right, a little dab. There we go, good enough. I'm going to use my more precise toothbrush, oh my God. Q-tip, what tool? For some reason, I just cannot get this one. If we don't get it on the 3rd try, we'll probably have to pull it off because it'll start to, it won't work out. The risk of tearing this one, that's it. It's on. That's where it's staying. I'm going to go ahead. Get some pressure on these. They're in place. There we go. You know, it's pretty straight. I like it. We're going to go with it. There you go. That's a whole thing for doing small precision decals. This is not the tweezers. This is just generic tweezers. Get the Tom ANYZ.com. His stuff. Get it. I'm going to order it right now. Tidbit of the day. Buy multiple sets of decals. So if you buy a sheet, buy 2 or 3. 1, it helps the decal manufacturer, which in this case happens to be me. But mistakes happen, and I'm prone to a lot of mistakes. You can see here, The decals are perfect, but my my placement is bad, and I got stuff curled underneath. I kept putting on more Mark Fit to try and fix it, and I just can't get it straightened out. So that decal is bye-bye. And here you can see there are actually two of them. And what I'm going to do is get to the backup sheet, and that is the result of using the backup sheet decal. So I've yet to do a project where I haven't had to fix at least one decal. So tip of the day, buy multiple sets of decal sheets, and hey, there's nothing wrong with having more in your collection. Okay, tip of the day out. Tip of the day number 2 today. We're going to do some decaling on the missile rails here. Got a little bit of weathering on there. And if you look really closely on the real thing, sometimes you get stenciling on the panel doors. And because we don't provide that on the actual main sheet, there's just way too much stuff. I'm going to grab the F-14 data sheet. And because these are old 70s jets, sometimes they were using yellow. And what do we have here? These are for I think these are GBU 16s that use yellow. So I'm going to just pull some of that text and use that. Also on the sheet, if we take a closer look, all the bomb stenciling here, we've got plenty of text, both in black and yellow. And over here is white, which we don't need to use today, but we'll use some black, we'll use some yellow, and we'll detail these up and see how that looks. All right, here's a little process for you. This is some really, really delicate stuff here. So I'm just gonna put a drop of Mark Fit on there. Now our decal is so tiny. Oh, let's see how we're gonna do this. We're just gonna use the tip, a flattened bent tip of an airbrush needle, slide it off. And I'm gonna have to come in. Let's use the flat part, so we're not using the sharp part. And just kind of work it into place. I'm concentrating a lot while I'm doing it, so it's hard to talk too much, but there we go. That's kind of close. So you get a little bit better. There we go, that looks pretty good. Now we're going to take our stressed out, I call stressed out, these are tightly wound precision Q-tips. And give that a touch. And that didn't quite work, so we're going to have to come back and try and straighten it up just a bit. A little more Mark Fit on there. So you can tell this is a kind of tedious and delicate process. There we go, that's a little better. Should I come in with a corner paper towel? So just dab up the Mark Fit. That looks good. Q-tip, roll it on. Boom, there we go. We got some stenciling on our missile rail. Next step today is going to be painting the back here, these dielectric panels on the boat tail from the BAM set. They have the dielectric panels on there, but there's no, if we take a look here, there's the dielectric panels we're talking about right there. And on the set, there's no panel lines to show that. So what I did is I just went ahead and masked them off front and back. Went looking for a good color. It's a dark kind of dirty gray. And what I decided to settle on after lots of colors, I went with RLM 66 black gray and a ground color from Mr. Color. And mix those two together. That is what we have here, that color. If anything, I think it might actually be a touch too dark. It might need just something a little lighter, but we're going to go ahead and give it a shot. I dig the color. It's dirty, it's dark, it's too brown. After taking a look at the shelf, I came up with dark sea gray is what I'm going to overcoat this with. And now I don't want to go totally different color, so what I'm going to do is take this dark sea gray, and since I already have paint in here, I'm just going to add it to the paint I have. There's not a whole lot in there, but we'll mix that up. We'll give it a few drops of Mr. Leveling Thinner here. Come back and stir that up a little more. Compared to what I have. And I think we're going to need a little bit more leveling or sea gray. You're kind of getting this all on the fly with me here as I kind of work through what I'm doing with it. So we're going to wipe off this. Let's grab some more sea gray. Add that to our mix here. More sea grays. This is now a fair amount of sea gray in here, actually. That's what we got. Oh yeah, much better. I like this much better. Let's go ahead just to help it out. I don't mind it being really thin. Nice thing about Mr. Color stuff is you can do that and get away with it being really thin. So here we go. Just to give you a better view, that is the color I'm going with. We'll mix that up even more. And if you saw that, we almost lost it. We almost dumped that whole thing because these gloves are sticky with paint. So, hold on. And we're set to go again. It definitely has a different color. There we go. Oh my God, now I'm ready to cry. This is why you don't wear dirty gloves. I literally just got paint and fingerprints on my finished kit. Mother, and got it back here too. So, all right, be back. At the risk of sounding all kinds of bad words, I was actually able to dip a Q-tip in just a touch of Mr. Leveling Thinner, and I came across the top here. And we just kind of wiped that up. It's not perfect, but it's better than it was. And then down here, did the same thing, got this spot off nicely, but right in here, wiped the actual paint away. So that is going to actually require some repainting of gold gray. Well, I couldn't resist improving the tail hook just a little bit. And if you can see here, let's try to get close. I cut in a little bit of shape now on the tip of that. Normally that has an end cap with a little raised line, but on these jets, the original ones, the end cap wasn't there and you had the internal structure and the internal tube. So I'll represent that with a steel tube or an aluminum tube later after I paint it because it was metal. And to give myself, if we get close enough, the correct shape of the tail hook, I went over to my collection and pulled out an actual F-14 tail hook. So it would go basically on the tail hook at the bottom hanging down. This would catch the rope or the cabling here. So this is what we're looking at, the back of the tail hook. And that's what I did. I just took a little ball point, drilled it out by hand. Thanks to Chris Sieber for his F-14 book. He did that. I just copied him. And then after that, a little bit of cement, boom, smoothed it all out. Used a little bit of a curved knife and some cement to smooth it out, and that's what you get. So the real thing and the scale thing. Now we got to repaint these white and add the black stripes. See ya. One of the cool things about these jets is that they are very different than what comes in the box. So there are things we have to do to make modifications. So in the instructions, we show here that there's a extra TAT, total air temperature probe, on the left side. This is representative of early Tomcats. I'm going to start by drilling a hole. I'm taking just basically, it's an awl, I think, just a piece that's been in here forever. I got this from a dentist probably 50, let's say 25 years ago. So I just find the spot that I want, mark it off, and I just take this and make a point. Then I go and find the drill bit I need. The easiest way to do that is, it just so happens this is the one I even had in here, because it is the exact same size that drills out on the back here, that drills out these lightning holes there. So I think it's 1 millimeter. I'm not entirely sure. So we take this part here, we take our drill bit, we know that it fit the kit part that's going to be here. The trick is going to be to try and drill this less than 1 millimeter deep. So we're just going to put that right on the hole and go ahead and drill in it. Now I am keeping it so it's straight down the fuselage. I'm just taking this nice and gentle. I don't want to damage the paint around it. Now we're going to have to push harder, it looks like. The nice thing is the kit gives us 2 of these because it's on a common sprue. So we have plenty of them. There we go. There's our depression, and we will go from there. All right, this is what happens when you try and move a decal after it was set and don't wait for the mark fit to work it out anymore. So unfortunately, I placed this decal too low. I was trying to move it, but once again, this is the same reason, actually, that we have multiple sheets, and we got to go get the backup sheet, cut that off, and try again. So fortunately, we have here a picture of number 32, the actual jet I'm using, and you can see that the bottom of the data comes above the refueling door and where the geometry basically of how it fits with the rest. We had this one a little bit too low, so we went ahead and grabbed the new one, try and place it. It is right on this panel line and right on the panel line for the formation light. To get that adjusted a little bit. And boom. Okay, it's hard to do on camera, but there we go. It is nice and straight to the panels. Looks good. And I like it, so we're going to move on. Meantime, over here, I deepened the hole for the TAT probe here. And there you go. There's a little look in the cockpit while we're at it. With the Quinto stuff. This stuff is so amazing. And some Edward photo etch there. All right, moving on. Here we go. All right, I'm going to call this one, well, some days you just can't win, and some days you spank the monkey, and some days the monkey spanks you. Today, I got spanked. So, went ahead, tried to do, you can see here I was adding radium tan to the tip of the IRST here. I used well-detacked Tamiya tape, stuff that's been on the workbench in the graveyard for, I don't know, 5-6 times. Barely touched it at all to this, and you can see just from the 30 seconds this was masked with barely anything painted. This is resin, this is Quickboost, and this was initially washed with warm soapy water. After that dried, 91% IPA, give it a little wash, let it dry, and then an hour or two later primed with white, which is what you're seeing here. And that was a month ago. And that is the result of just touching tape to the resin. So my guess is I'm going to have to scrap this whole thing, strip it down, start all over. There's nothing I can do about it but start from scratch. So there you go. Some days the monkey spanks you. Okay, I'm not messing around with this part anymore. We're just going to go ahead and try and strip it. I've got my Mr. Leveling Thinner. I'll actually just use it damp. Well, you know, what the heck. Look at that. Just comes right off my hands. But leveling thinner, how about that? Leveling thinner is not taking it off. Okay. I'm going to dry that off. We're going to move on to lacquer thinner and see what happens. But in the meantime, that works. So before I go with actual lacquer thinner, and I've just been scraping off, since this is what started it all, just grab some brand new Tamiya tape, stick that on here, and use that. Look at this. Certain areas, I can't get the paint off of the part. But the tape worked well for that. Oh, looks like they found me. Here come the Capopo. I gotta go. We have our part freshly washed with lacquer thinner and then warm water. Mr. Surfacer 1000 mahogany, like I did with the rest of the airplane, so it's consistent. Looks pretty good. That's all I need. Okay, we're gonna let that dry and then start the repainting process. And that, ladies and gentlemen, will be the end of the day today. So thanks for joining us.